Oh, look, this prison had women in it. Wow, look at this one. Heartbreaker. Man, can you imagine cheating on your spouse and having her stab you and cut your heart out and throw it in your face? So how about this one? Her brother didn't like the way that she was dancing and told her, and she said, and she threatened to kill him, and he says, just kill me then. And so she went and got a shotgun and blew his head off. Man, things were rough in those old days. Welcome to Tigner Adventures. My name is David, and my wife Ninette and our little cat Tansy. We live full-time in our motorhome. And for those of you that have already subscribed to our channel, welcome back. And if you haven't done that, then please think about subscribing. Hopefully we can provide some good content for you, something to help you out along your ways. Today we are visiting the Yuma Territorial Prison. We're going to kind of go through here and show you kind of what's here. It's pretty inexpensive. Their video on the whole setup is quite lengthy and gives you a pretty good history, so it's well worth your time to come and see it. And so we're just going to kind of walk through this and give you that idea of what it's like. So here is the entrance that we're actually going to go into. It starts off here by, we do have the big water tower that provided water to the place, and a big tower on top. That guard tower will show you in a little bit actually was this main point, but it kind of went off. They could go from there off to all the different guard towers around on the wall. And we're going to just kind of pan over here to get started. That's actually the yard over there and the museum. And then if we keep going around here, you'll see the rest of the prison. So things have really been deteriorating over the years until Arizona State stepped in and purchased it and restored it back to what it could of the old stuff, just to at least give us an idea of kind of what's going on. Over here on the right side as we're walking in is the East Wetlands of Yuma, and this is the Colorado River over there. So this is the floodplain, and it used to flood here all the time. So I'm just going to show you some placards here. Different signs show that how the wet lands over here were pretty much destroyed, and they've been a big conservation project to rebuild them. And it's looking pretty good now. The water's nice and clean. The area has been cleaned up. They've planted a lot of things back in here because basically what's happened over the years is this used to be a big floodplain. So people lived here, floods came in, but with all the dikes and dams and things, they've taken care of all that so that it doesn't have that problem anymore. And so it's actually thriving now. So it's a nice wetlands for the fowl that live here. If you look down here on the bottom, you also see there's a bike trail going through here. We've ridden on that bike trail. It's about 4 miles or so long, and it's a really fun little ride. It's all paved, goes down into town, so it's a lot of fun. So we have gone through the little visitor center where you actually pay. It's not really a visitor, it's the little store. It's a gift shop, and then over here I'm pointing at the museum, the entrance to the actual prison portion of it. It's got some plaques here that kind of gives us a timeline, so we're just going to kind of follow that through. You can pause it if you need to look at it a little bit closer. The other thing is over here, I kind of pointed out the tower before. This is the actual water tower. The guard tower was built on the water tower, so it's kind of an interesting setup. Well, we're up on top of the tower overlooking the valley here. That's the Paradise Casino. That's the Indian reservation over there. Again, we're overlooking the East Wetlands. So the thing to note here is that the tower overlooked everything inside the yard plus outside when the workers were working outside doing different tasks outside the prison walls. So now we're going to go ahead and enter into the museum portion of the prison. And there's a lot in here, so you really need to come through here to see the whole thing, because it's got a lot of cool stuff. I'll show a few different things, but you don't quite get the same feeling on video that you would if you were here in person. So this prison had women in it, but the thing that I find interesting is that the pictures they put on the women's posters made them look like they were saints. So to make my point, here's a picture of Pearl Hart on her poster, or she's called the Bandit Queen. That's what they kind of posted to everybody, and then which made her look like she was a nice, upholding young lady. And then here's her picture, normal picture, when she was brought into the prison. So not really quite the same. They really made them look good for those posters they showed to the press. But the main thing to point out about this is that this prison had women and men in it. The warden did not like the fact that he had to have the women here, and they caused a lot of issues, you can imagine, for all the men that were held here. And in the women's quarters, here's a picture of the women's quarters, which is on the outside of the prison, away from all the men. And so they had to stay in those, and think about Yuma being 110 in the summer, and they were put into these cages. So it wasn't necessarily that humane, and it was really a rough time. And so a lot of the women, just after a few years, were pardoned just because they were so much trouble for the prison itself. And the wardens would plead with the governor to get rid of them, and so they would say, if you guys will be good, we're going to go ahead and let you go. And they'd let each one of them go. So here's a little video screen. It's the bad girls of the Old West, and you can go back and forth, and it gives an actual breakdown of each individual that was imprisoned here, and how long they were here, when they were pardoned. Here is a rendition of what the prison looked like when it was in its glory days. So you can see the water tower and the platform built on top of that, and then how it goes over to all the little guard shacks that are actually on top of the fences that went around the actual post. All right, so we've left the gift shop, and we're out here where the cell blocks are. So we're going to kind of walk up to this one and look inside. This is how big they were. It's got guys in here. So they had 6 beds in this little spot.
My name is William H. Lustino. They call me an agitator. Didn't know that was a crime. Well, as soon as I got here, I just had to get out. Tried to escape with 2 other prisoners. Yep, some guards got hurt.
Prisons themselves had 2 doors on them. This one's one that's doesn't have anything in it, but it has a double door so that they could open the first door and close it behind them, and then the guard could open the second door to do whatever, or move them back and forth accordingly. Over here we'll see that they did put a library into the prison, so a lot of people were able to get an education that were here. And then down here a little bit to the right is what they call the dark cell. When you were in a lot of trouble, you got placed in the dark cell. No, it's pretty dark in here. What you can't see really is the grate. You can see this grate on the floor, but that was as big as the actual cell. So they walked in here, the person was put in that cell, and guards could walk in here and walk around them, give them their food and things like that, but their cell was pretty small. So this is an example of the size of the cell. It was 7 feet by 9 feet by 7 feet high. They'd have multiple people in there. No bed, no nothing. You just had to sleep on the floor. You were a bad person if you got in the dark cell. This is the tool storage room. And this is the infirmary. So I'll just kind of peek in here. Again, the best way to come to, or see this is just kind of an overview. The best thing to do is actually just come here. So they do have a video that tells about the history of the prison and how it got all started and everything. The interesting thing was that at the time that they were talking about the prison in the legislature, Yuma wasn't even on that list. And it kind of came down to they were going to put the prison in Phoenix. And so they had everything all drafted up, ready to go, but then they went to lunch. While they were at lunch, one of the legislators from Yuma went in and modified it. And when everyone came back from lunch, they were in a hurry and take a vote so they could all take off. So they didn't even look at it. They just went ahead and voted on it. And so Yuma was voted as the place for the prison. So it's pretty interesting. The video is pretty informative. It's got everything throughout the years, all about the different wardens, about the different instances that happened in the prison, all the way to the point when the prison itself became the high school for the local high school students here. Once the prison was closed, the high school was destroyed, and so the students came here. And so to this day, they're still known as the criminals. And they keep that name with pride. There's a lot of people that have complained about it, but the actual people that go there and the students themselves have wanted to keep that name, and so it still stands today, even through all the controversy going about and trying to change history. This one is staying in place. Well, that completes the tour, and hopefully you got something out of it. There's a lot of information here, a lot more than what I went into. I didn't want to kind of give away everything. For the price, it's well worth coming here and visit. It's really a little treasure of Yuma to have this set up here. It's nice that the state stepped in and took this over after it was closed, really going downhill, and they've kind of stepped in to restore a lot of it so we could kind of see what things were like back then and how things became the way they are today. So hopefully you got something out of this. Hopefully it was a fun little thing to watch, and so until next time, I guess we'll just see you out there on the road. So take care.